Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Willies. This is a progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, progressive, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. We are an independent media outlet that, unlike mainstream media beholden to corporations, we only owe allegiance to you. Remember, you can also send me a tweet at EGBERTOWILLIES. That is at Egberto Willies. Let us engage. It is Politics Done Right. Well, folks, welcome to one more edition of Politics Done Right. I'm Egberto Willies, your host. Thank you so kindly for being a part of the show. We are going to have a great show for you today. How are my people doing? I know you guys are all doing fine. We are going to have a great show. Welcome aboard. Michael Rudnin from Brooklyn, New York is in the house. Welcome aboard. Patrick Mackner from Houston is in the house. We also have Yvette Avery Herod from Atlanta, Georgia. Let's see, Rudnin from Brooklyn, New York. We have Carolyn Salter, Michael Mills, Jason Hightower. Adam W. is in the house from Pennsylvania. We also have Nancy. Welcome aboard, all our people. Well, to start the show, you know what's special for tomorrow, right? Tomorrow we are having that humongous thing all over the country. What is it called again? No Kings. And on the phone with us today is the one and only Cindy Hendrickson, who is the facilitator, the organizer of the No Kings. I don't want to call it protest. The No Kings, whatever, here in Kingwood. How you doing, Cindy?
I'm okay. I'm driving in a storm. Can you hear me?
I can hear you perfectly, Cindy. I am sorry that you're in the storm, but tell us a little bit about the storm, and then tell us a little bit about what you're doing for us tomorrow.
Well, this is a crazy storm. I'm in my little car, but I've got a Subaru, and it can do anything. So I feel pretty safe. It's just wild.
I love to hear that. Anyway,
so tomorrow morning, we're going to rally on the streets in Kingwood, the intersection of Kingwood Drive and West Lake Houston Parkway. We started considering doing this rally a couple of months ago when Trump said he wanted a military parade. We didn't like that. And my group here in Kingwood did not want to go downtown. They wanted to have a community event in our neighborhood. So we have about 90 people confirmed for tomorrow.
Great. Go ahead, Cindy.
Yeah, we just want to protest the authoritarianism that we feel is happening in this country. This protest really doesn't have anything to do directly with what's happening in Los Angeles.
Exactly.
No Kings Day were created prior to the Los Angeles problem, and they are separate issues.
You know, a lot of people are trying to make believe that this is only an immigration thing. This is a No Kings event, meaning Donald Trump is not a king.
Correct. And we don't anticipate our people being riotous like they're claiming in the mainstream media. We are there to do a peaceful protest. We're not marching. We're just going to be standing with our signs, our American flags, and having, a presence in the community. People need to know that we are there and that we are in solidarity for separation of powers and protection of democracy.
Well, great. Look, Cindy, thank you for doing that. And folks, don't forget, it starts at 10 o'clock. Is that correct?
No, 9:30 till noon.
9:30 a.m. until noon at the corner of Kingwood Drive and West Lake Houston Boulevard. Is that correct?
That's correct.
All right, folks. So if you are in Kingwood, Texas, remember to come out to King or in the vicinity, whether you're in Porter or you're in Humble. If you don't want to go all the way to downtown for the big event in front of, I think it's that one is going to be near City Hall. Come on over to Kingwood,
Correct.
and we are gonna have a substantive march out here, a substantive protest. This covers the entire country. Cindy, thank you so kindly. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Have a great day now. Have a good one. All right, that was Cindy Hendrickson. She is the leader of Indivisible Kingwood, and she's working very hard to make sure that we get things done. Anyway, continuing on. Para ver. We are staying positive according to Adam W. That is exactly what we're going to do. Kitty Cat is in the house. Pam C is in the house. Joanne's Marco is in the house. Thank you for being here. We got a full show for you today. Michael Radin says, let's see, the Guardian, Israeli strikes hit more than 100 targets in Iran, including nuclear facilities. Tehran says strikes are a declaration of war, while Donald Trump warns of further, more brutal attacks. I want you guys to read that on your own, but I want to make a statement on this stuff in Iran. The president of Zelensky, the president of Ukraine, pointed out that the missiles for his defense were being sent to Israel. That was last week sometime. And, it never crossed my mind that there was something up. It never crossed my mind that there was something to these missiles going to Israel. But it turns out that all along, more than likely, Donald Trump was in cahoots, likely, and this is speculation. I tell you when I'm speculating and when I'm talking statements of fact, but you can infer or you can logically infer some of these things. So all these defense missiles went to Israel. Donald Trump has been trying to make a deal with Iran on processing their nuclear waste, etc. It has not been working out well for Donald Trump with Iran, and he kept on threatening them. But at the same time, he's been telling Netanyahu that he couldn't invade Iran. He couldn't bomb Iran. Well, somehow out of the blue, they start to talk about the possibility of Netanyahu going into Iran, and we have nothing to do about it. And then he got interviewed, and Israel goes ahead and explodes on Iran yesterday or last night, and they're doing it right now as we speak. And Donald Trump comes out and he says, I told them that they should make the deal. So in other words, while he's saying to the world, we had nothing to do with it, he's making them wink, wink, wink. We had something to do with it. We unleashed Israel on you. These guys are playing some dangerous games with all of our lives, folks. These guys are playing dangerous games with all of our lives. I want to remind you of something. They are so concerned about Iran using the bomb. They are so concerned about all these other countries getting the bombs and using the bombs. They're concerned about all the terrorism that these other countries are going to execute, right? Iran is going to execute some great terrorism on the United States. I want us to stop just being stooges for these people. I want to remind you all of something. Who invaded, who brought down the towers? People that trained from Saudi Arabia. Those are the people that attacked us on 9/11. And who are we very friendly with? Saudi Arabia. Please identify to me, when did Iran invade us? And look, I'm not a fan of any of these countries, but I want us to start doing some critical thinking and not just listening to what these people have to say. When have Iran ever attacked us? Want to ask that? We can get into the last time we had any serious effects from Iran was during Carter's years when 40, I don't remember how many Americans were held in the embassy when there was an overthrow of the government. But there's a lot to study there that many people need to do. And go study about Moshe Dayan and exactly what is the reasons why there was an issue between America and Iran. And it had to do with the Shah, it had to do with the oil in Iran, and it had to do with when the oil was nationalized and when they decided that they weren't going to have countries come in there and exploit their oil. That is when the problems with Iran started. I want us to be logical thinkers. The people that have harmed us the most are not the people that we harm the most. When we look at destruction, can you please tell me when you have ever seen any kind of destruction applied to us or to Israel the way we have imparted it on others, or Israel has imparted it on others? Ask yourself that question. This is not about taking sides or anything like that. This is about abusing the American citizens. This is about taking the American citizens' dollars for these big shots to play games with and use us as pawns. Have you ever seen any city in Israel, any town in Israel, decimated as we see in Gaza, the West Bank, or anywhere else? I want you to answer that. Have you ever seen the destruction that we are watching, the death tolls that we are seeing in Gaza, the West Bank, and in the past, the Golan Heights? Have we seen that any time before? That they have inflicted that damage on Israel, or that someone has inflicted that kind of damage on us? When we wanted to go ahead and get Manuel Antonio Noriega, do you know that to get that one man, about 10,000 Panamanians were killed with American bombs and bombers? They tested out the stealth fighter in Panama. We don't have an Air Force. They tested out the stealth fighter in Panama. 10,000 Panamanians that my father witnessed as because of a language barrier. A man trying to get insulin to his wife, machine gun down on a street heading from Arcoiris to Colón in Panama. We are hoodwinked. This stuff that's occurring in Israel right now, a lot of people are going to be put in danger because Donald Trump and Netanyahu are likely playing games with us. We are always scared about other people doing things. I have a question. We are concerned about somebody else using the nuclear bomb on others. Ask yourself, which is the only country that showed that it had the stomach and wherewithal to use a nuclear bomb? Which is the only country that has ever used a nuclear bomb? We are. And we are concerned with other countries. Pakistan has had the bomb for a long time. India has had the bomb for a long time. France, Great Britain, Russia, all these countries have had the bomb for a long time. All these folks have been in wars and in different activities before. Can you tell me, has any one of these countries ever used a nuclear bomb, whether the big ones or the tactical nuclear weapons? The answer is no. The answer is no. So let's stop allowing these people to make fun of us. Let's stop allowing them to use us as pawns. It's not right. It isn't right. Anyhow, I have some interviews that I need to play here, right? And this one is an important one that I did with a lawyer last night. It's about 14 minutes long. I want you to check this out, and then we'll take it on the other side. It also gives me a chance to clean up a lot of mess that crash caused. But here we go. Welcome to another edition of Politics and Right. My name is Egberto Willies. Today we're honored to have attorney Paul Kiesel. Paul Kiesel is Speak Up for Justice founder and a national recognized trial attorney based in Los Angeles, whose practice focuses on personal injury, class action, environmental, and taxes tort litigation. He has been named one of California's 100 most influential attorneys by the Daily Journal, one of the top 50 trial lawyers by the Los Angeles Business Journal, and among the top 500 lawyers in the United States by Law Dragon. Welcome to Politics Done Right, Senor Paul Kiesel. How are you doing today?
You know what? I'm honored to join you this afternoon and have this conversation. I'm glad that you cut that introduction just a little bit short. It can take a long time for that, so thank you.
Well, you are a renowned kind of a guy with a very long history, but what I did is I chopped what I got from the top. And I think being named the top of all those things is great. But look, let's sort of get busy. I want to start with the Supreme Court. I mean, we're going to talk about the issues with California in a minute, but I want to start with the Supreme Court. Recently, the Supreme Court has given the president being a law neophyte, what seems to me to be a blanket check to do as he pleases while in office with the immunity decision that they made. Do I have that right, or are there some limitations to it?
Well, look, there's certainly going to be limitations to it. I think that the Supreme Court, in part rightly, acknowledged that the commander-in-chief and the elected leader of this country has a fair amount of discretion in terms of what he or she does in that position. Is it unfettered? Is it without limitation? Absolutely not. Have we hit that moment in time yet? I'm not sure. Perhaps when we talk about California and what the president did to our National Guard, he may have hit the wall in terms of what authority he has to issue executive orders, or in fact, orders from the president's office that get executed on. I think the Supreme Court, to be clear, has given the president a lot of flexibility, but it's not without limits, in my view.
Now, this country is over 200 and odd years in existence, and something of this sort has never come up. Why? I mean, what makes this administration so novel that it needed something of this sort?
Well, I don't think that it's the novelty of this administration that gives them the immunity that the Supreme Court suggests the president of the United States has, regardless of the party that president is coming from. What's unique about this particular president is he is stretching his authority and pushing this country in a way no other president in our nation's history has ever done. Look, Speak Up for Justice, which is the organization I put together, is just to do this. We as a community, as citizens, need to recognize that the law is our best guardrail in this nation for its democracy. And when the law becomes flexible, when presidents are free to ignore decisions of courts, this nation as a democracy is really very fragile and extremely at great risk of collapse as a democracy when the rule of law ends. And Speak Up for Justice, to go on for just a bit, judges can't speak for themselves. When Judge Boasberg issues his decision and Trump calls for his impeachment, and members of Congress ask to impeach a federal judge because they don't like his decision, that's not how business is done in this country. There's appellate courts. There's a process you go through. Just because you don't like a judge's decision, you don't remove that judge from office, or worse, threaten the life of that judge.
We used to believe that a government made up of three independent but co-equal governmental bodies, if you will, the judiciary, the legislative, and the executive, protected us from that sort of what I call tyranny. But it seems to me like maybe we have erred in believing that there's some protection there, and just maybe it's not.
Well, here's the thing. There's never been a time that I'm aware of, certainly not in my 65 years of life, where a sitting president has ignored the decision of a court. We're a nation where historically the president may not have agreed with the decision that was reached. The community, the public might not have agreed with the decision that was reached by the Supreme Court, but we followed the rule of law anyway. We're at a flex point right now where if in fact the decision is to ignore what the court has done, we use the word, it's a constitutional crisis. Really, it's a deconstruction of democracy when that third branch of government is ignored and you have a legislative branch that appears to be unwilling to stand up for itself and assert what its rights are.
You know, I used to tell my audience a long time ago, again, like I said, I'm no law scholar, but I sure know how to read the Constitution. And I once told my audience that the way I see it is that the judiciary is the most powerful segment of the three branches, simply because they could deem anything unconstitutional. The one thing I had never believed would have happened is that we would have had a legislative branch that ceded just about all of its power to executive, and at that point makes the court seem almost impotent. Your thoughts?
Well, here's the point. If in fact the legislative branch chooses to disregard its responsibility, to be a check and balance, to be a guardrail, if the legislative branch falls aside, the only protection we have is on the cliff side of the roadway. If you go off that side, you're dead. So right. The guardrail that we have right now is just on the side of the cliff. And if they go through that guardrail, which is the court system, there's not much hope for us.
What I tell people is that ultimately it is now we, the people, and we have to make the we, the people of the Constitution stand for what it really stands for, we, the people.
I couldn't agree with you more. That in fact, that's really the impetus behind or I should say, speak up for justice, because it's the community, it's the lawyers in part, but it's all of us. I know there's going to be a No Kings rally this weekend to see how many thousands or hundreds of thousands or millions of people that come out to show their support for our democracy by saying no kings in this country. That's not what we signed up for.
All right, let's get into California now. California, the president, I think it's really two issues. One, having taken away the power from the governor to go ahead and empower the militarize or empower the guard, the National Guard, but most importantly, to commission 700 Marines, active Marines, to go into LA. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, my thoughts are pretty simple. Number one, obviously, Judge Breyer, who is the younger brother of Stephen Breyer,
Supreme Court,
Supreme Court justice who just retired. You couldn't hope for a better judicial officer. He's got 23 years of experience. He's brilliant. And to be clear, whatever his decision is, we're going to abide by. If he says the president has the authority, someone can appeal it and they'll go up the chain to see what happens, but we'll accept it. I hope and pray that if his decision is, you know what, the president did not have authority under Title 10, Section 12406 to do this, that the administration will say, okay, if the order is to pull back the Marines and to stand down with the National Guard, I only hope and pray our executive branch acknowledges that decision. They can appeal it, but that in the meantime, they do what the court instructs them to do, which is your point. A federal judge, if you ask me what the most powerful position is in America, I always said it was to be a district court federal judge, because one single federal judge can declare something unconstitutional, and that is blanket across the United States until it goes to a higher court. That can happen quickly. But the fact is, a single federal judge, one side or the other, makes a decision, and that is the rule of the land right now. That is an important, powerful position to have.
Now, the question is, though, would he stay the order if he went ahead and made the decision?
Great question. I think if he wanted to avoid a constitutional crisis, which would happen if he said, I want you to immediately withdraw the troops today, give that order, that he could do that. But he could also say, you know what, I'm going to grant the injunction. I'm going to order that the troops be returned, but I'm going to stay my order for 14 days to give you a chance to go to the Ninth Circuit and hear what the Ninth Circuit has to say. That would be a very cautious way to approach it. It wouldn't really get the military off the streets at the moment, but it would be a cautious way to approach it.
But there are times when that cautious approach causes damage, right? Because while we're waiting for that decision, these guys are on the road. These guys are active. I mean, there are reasons for judges to stay something. I mean, you stay something if not staying it wouldn't create massive problems in doing so. And what we're saying is that if this isn't stayed immediately, these people could harm quite a few of our American citizens.
For example, Abrego Garcia.
Exactly.
Before his plane left the ground, the judge issued an order: do not deport this individual, and yet they ignored that and sent him to El Salvador. Okay, that would be a time for an injunction to issue immediately and no stay. Just get it ordered and stop it. Okay, I agree with you. And there's certainly an immediate concern about having the military on the streets of Los Angeles, where you don't need them. We have a pretty effective police force. We have the sheriff's department. We have agreements with forces all around Southern California that can help where our own force can't do it. We have enough authority on the streets that we do not need the military present in our streets. So I do think he could issue the injunction and require it to happen immediately, and it would scale back the protests that are happening in this city right now.
As Andrew Jackson said, the Supreme Court can say as it please, but make me follow the rules. Isn't there an error in the Constitution or a problem with the Constitution when it doesn't give more power to everybody else? In other words, if the judge tells that says that the president is doing something wrong and he refuses to have to complete that order, shouldn't there really be yet another some other part that says, okay, we're going to arrest the president for not following an order?
These are issues, as you started our conversation, we've never confronted before as a nation, right? We run the risk of being a dictatorship.
Right.
If we look, the program I'm going to be doing on June 26th for Speak Up for Justice, I'm going to have a remarkable group of federal judges, one from Venezuela, where the law fell apart. The constitutional system in Venezuela, when Hugo Chavez was elected, disappeared. And so I'm having a federal judge who's living in the United States under asylum because the system fell apart in Venezuela. I'm going to have a judge from Poland, federal judge who's a sitting judge in Poland. Poland came very close in the year 2020 from losing its legal system when they took over. I'm going to have a judge from South Africa talking about these issues of international rules of law and how the United States has been a leading light, a lighthouse that other nations have followed. We lose that opportunity if we move away from the rule of law we've had for nearly 250 years.
Paul, look, I want to thank you, but first of all, I'm going to ask you the question that I ask everybody, and that is, please tell me what you would have liked me to ask that I didn't ask, and give us a closer that you'd like to close with.
Funny, when I'm trying a lawsuit and I've got a witness on the witness stand, or a juror, I'm looking to choose a juror for a trial. I always say, what you just asked me, what didn't I ask you that you should tell me that I should know? And I would say this. The fact that you've got folks engaged here is so critical. Every single one of your viewers, of your listeners, need to be involved, because this has to be an American effort. American people need to stand up. This is a democracy. It only works if we get engaged. Speak Up for Justice about being engaged in the process. Thank you for what you're doing. Thank you for all the people that are engaged in this Constitution for us.
Paul Kiesel, founder of Speak Up for Justice, among many other things he's known for. Thank you so kindly for having been on Politics Done Right.
Thank you for having me. Have a great day.
Folks, I hope you enjoyed that. Thank you so kindly for listening to that. I really got in touch with him because I wanted to bring up that constitutional issue. Beatrice, you just made my day. I mean, when we work and do these things, the only way we know that we're doing it right is from your feedback. Beatrice said, I want you to know that investing as a paid subscriber was one of the best decisions I have made. Your teachings are invaluable. Thank you so very much. We must be willing as a country, as a people, to invest and pay for the government we want, or we're going to end up with the government we deserve. My dear deceased dad used to say that you've got to be willing to put your money where your mouth is. Again, thank you, Egberto. Happy Father's Day. You don't know how much that touches me, Beatrice. You don't know how much that touches me, because we get out there and we do this stuff. It touches me. Let me just tell you that. Almost to tears. Thank you so kindly for those words. I really appreciate those words. Daddy said, yep, the first 3 days in office, he knew how dangerous it was. Daddy also says Trump's trying to rewrite the Constitution. If he hadn't already, look, he stuck in a Schedule F, and it was actually signed and placed into on 10/21/2000. No one even realized that. I think that's where he changed his civil service stuff. Is that what that is, Daddy? I don't quite remember. And yes, PJ Schuster, you're correct. An enforcement mechanism we need within the Constitution against the president. Compromat, Don Buchter. Let's see what else we have. Folks, we had a big crash to start the program, so I wasn't able to call everybody out, but I want to tell you that, I love you all. Thank you for being here. I'll call you out on Monday when we talk. I got another video that I want you to see. Remember what I said, there's going to be a lot of distractions away from the big, beautiful bill. But we have to keep that on people's psyche. We can't allow people to forget this by just concentrating on LA. I keep putting a picture up there, and it's this picture here, folks. They want you to believe that LA is on fire. It is not. They want you to believe that what's occurring in LA is a big thing. It is not. It is a 4 square block area that's right there that you can see on the screen right now. That 4 square block area is where all that stuff that you see, all these places are concentrated on. And when we have the curfews at night, it is just that 1 square mile area around those 4 square blocks. It is not a big thing. It's the same thing they did in Portland. They blow everything up to make you believe that stuff is on fire. It's on fire. The country is doing just fine. Just fine. Republicans are trying to blow things up so that you will be scared, to make you fearful of your own brothers and sisters, of the people that you're around. Do not fall for the hoodwink. The country is doing fine. Michael Rodney says Los Angeles is a massive city by way of geography. It's only a small neighborhood within Los Angeles that is hosting the protest. Exactly, Michael Rodney. Exactly. All right, because again, I want you guys to keep your head on with the big, beautiful bill. I want to remind our MAGA brothers and sisters that their Führer, their president, the man that they love the most, is getting ready to screw them royally. With all the distraction that's occurring right now, some of them purposeful, like the over militarization of what's occurring in LA, with what we are starting to hear in Israel. I mean, there's so much that's happening right now that diverts attention from things that are going to affect us, not today, not tomorrow, but for some time to come, which we better take a look at and keep on the front burner right now. And that particularly is the big, bad bill. That what the president likes to call one big, beautiful bill. Well, look, folks, in as much as you're not hearing much about that on the news today, let's keep it in the news. And let's remind folks that if this bill passes, poor people will get a hell of a lot poorer, and the wealthy will take the money that made those people poorer. It's important for us to keep that in mind as you listen to this piece right here.
Analysis from the Congressional Budget Office about his massive spending and tax bill. And it finds while resources would increase overall for families, it would decrease for the lowest earning households by about $1,600 per year, while resources would increase for highest earning households by about $12,000. Now, these amounts are due mainly to changes in federal taxes. Joining us now is Democratic Congressman Brendan Boyle. He's the ranking member of the House Budget Committee. Congressman, thanks so much. You just got your hands on this new updated analysis. Again, this is from the Nonpartisan Congressional Budget Office. What do you see as the most important takeaways from their findings?
Well, it's pretty glaring right there in black and white, showing the dollar and cents difference. Basically, if you were in the bottom third of household income in America, you will be far worse off as a result of this Republican bill. And if you are in the top 0.1%, you will do the best under the Republican bill. So it is literally taking money from the bottom third of Americans and redistributing it to the very top in this country.
Congressman, I want to play a moment yesterday where you questioned Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent about this bill's priorities. Let's watch.
It is smart spending. That what are we spending for? Are we
tax cuts that mostly go to billionaires such as yourself, while throwing 16 million people off their health care coverage? The reality is, I can see why you would have that opinion. You, as a billionaire, will reap the rewards of this tax cut, while 16 million Americans will lose their health coverage. That is the sad reality of the situation.
So the Senate has this bill now, and we're told Stephen Miller is briefing Republicans on this bill this hour. Leadership believes it could still take weeks or even months to pass a final version. What will Democrats be doing about it in the meantime? Can your party push for any changes at this point?
Yeah, well, first, I just want to briefly explain where that 16 million figure comes from. That also comes from the Nonpartisan Congressional Budget Office, who are essentially the official referees or scorekeepers for all legislation. That comes because almost 11 million Americans will lose their health care who are currently on Medicaid due to the Republican cuts in this bill. And an additional about 5 million Americans will lose their health care who are currently covered through the Affordable Care Act. So these are devastating cuts. Never before in American history have we seen an event that would cause 16 million Americans to lose their health care coverage. Now, I can tell you that House Democrats stood 100% united. All of us voted no on the Republican bill for the reasons I've mentioned, as well as others. I do think the vote is going to be very close in the Senate. I hear that the bill is going to change, which means it would, in a new form, require yet another House vote. And that gives us another opportunity to attempt to stop this very bad bill.
Now, it's time for us to wake up. With all the distractions, and Donald Trump is going to continue to keep you distracted. He's going to continue to talk about the immigrants. He's going to continue to just do things to keep your mind off of that big, ugly bill. You can't let it, because when that vote is done, if that bill passes, you are going to be in dire straits. And specifically, for all of you MAGA that's listening to me right now, this bill will affect you more than it'll affect most people. One of my TikToks, a MAGA guy came on and says, "Well, we are happy that Donald Trump is taking the waste out. If Democrats would stop giving away all these freebies, then it'll be all okay." In other words, the Democrats are voting for the freebies. Alert, alert. Most of you that are talking that crap on our TikToks, you're on Medicaid. Half the times you don't know it. Your granny and your auntie in that nursing home that you go visit on Sundays to take her a little something to eat, she's on Medicaid. You know, when you take your kids, they are on Medicaid. So let's be clear about it, folks. If you somehow believe that all these freebies are going to all these left-wing folks, that's not the case. The left wing has more money in the aggregate than you do. Remember that. The people that depend the most on government are the people who voted for Donald Trump. The people the states that depend on government the most are the red states. You take more because your governors, your representatives, they are terrible. They lie to you, but they are always sucking on the government's tit. Let's be clear here. You are the ones that are dependent. Your states take money from California. They take money from New York, Connecticut, Rhode Island. Your states take money from Washington State because they are not only sicker, but your own government, your red government, ensure that you are uneducated. This is not an insult. This is just what they do. And Trump would tell you straight up, he wants to keep you that way. Because if he keeps you that way, he can screw you and then tell you those other folks are doing it to you. I suggest you really take account of this. And again, we are here to provide you a place to land. Yes, we are here to provide a space to land, but you're going to have to want to land in that place. You're going to have to make that decision and say, I will join with my progressive brothers and sisters so that this evil guy doesn't screw us all. Because that is what's about to happen. Okay, I don't have a lot of time, but I want to close out here with, first of all, I want to point out, Donald Trump is rich people are getting to him. They're complaining to him and saying, hey, all those workers that we need to cut to get the fruit, you're throwing them out of the country. You're harming us. You're giving them to your private prison brothers. You got to leave some for us too, so they can cosechar la cosa, so they can harvest the fruit. You're also saying, hey, we need them to clean the rooms. We need them. So Trump comes out yesterday and he says, well, I am rethinking. We're going to have some new executive orders on how to handle the immigration issue. In other words, now he's changing his tune because he has two parts of his rich base fighting. The private prisons who want people, and the people who need to get their fruits harvested. They need people, and the Las Vegas hotels and otherwise, they need people. Donald Trump is saying, oh my God, how am I going to do all of that? So now he's going to have a new executive order to not arrest all these immigrants that he's currently arresting. Look, when you start to believe a lie and you make policy based on a lie, you know you're in trouble. That's the problem. We knew they were lying all along. What a lot of us didn't believe is that if some of them believed the lies that they were telling their constituents. Oh, the big bad, all those criminals, immigrants. The problem is most immigrants aren't criminals. So if you want to deport a lot of people, and Obama was the deporter in chief. How did he do that? Well, a lot of people were coming to the border. But now the foreigners are scared to come to the American border because we got Trump there. So he can't even give the illusion of deporting people anymore. Obama could, because as soon as they come to the border, Obama deported them right back. They weren't yet a part of the fabric of the American system. Well, we have most of our undocumented workers are fabric of the American system. They have jobs. We need them in the fields. We need them in the hotels. We need them as engineers. All these people are here now. They are a part of us. They are us. And once you start to try to get rid of them, you disrupt us. And Donald Trump used to believe the crap that he said. But now reality has hit home and he realizes we can't live without them. It harms our Social Security. It harms the prices that we pay for produce. It means that when you go to a hotel, I went to a hotel. I went to Dallas, and It took a long time before we got into the room. So I'm talking to the lady at the desk and she says, it's hard to find help now. Nobody wants to come into work. They're scared to come to work. Why again? They're scared to come to work because Donald Trump may deport them. So the hotels are suffering. You see, when you start, it's one thing to lie. It's the other thing is to make policies based on lies. When you have to try to make policies based on lies, you fail. So my MAGA listeners right now, we told you that the policies Donald Trump is looking at will harm you. This is where policy meets reality. He made a promise to his rich friends. They are getting a huge tax cut. The money has to come from somewhere. I'll go into that another time as far as the fungibility of money and all of that, But here's the deal: there's based on how the economic system works. There are three legs. There's the bond leg. There's a tax cut leg. I'm talking about for this particular issue, right? And then there are the people's leg. And the only people that Donald Trump cares to satisfy is the rich people's leg, the tax cut leg, and the bond leg. Because the bond leg has to survive. And if he doesn't take away the money from the poor people to fulfill his promise to the rich people, then he would have to borrow that money on the bond market, and that would put the bond prices all the way up, which then increases our deficits even further, which sends him back to the bond market, which elevates the prices even higher. And in software, we have something called the deadly embrace. When you write software, that is when you have a multitasking system and the two of them are dependent on the same thing at the same time and they can't move. And that's where the freeze up occurs. Folks, you have been sold a lie. The immigration issue was a lie. The tax cut issue was a lie. And Donald Trump is somehow going to have to fulfill this and have you looking all over the place for a solution for which there isn't an answer. It's a shame. Anyway, I got to get out of here. It's 4:00. I'm going to go to the gym after I'm done here, but I want to ask all of you to please consider becoming subscribers of our paid subscribers. That is the way we fund what we're doing here. And how can you become a paid subscriber? You simply need to go to politicsdoneright.com/newsletter. If you become a paid subscriber of our newsletter, you get to read all of our books on the Substack platform free of charge. You want to know what those, and if you want a hard copy of the book, you can always go to politicsdoneright.com/books to get it. But that is how to make America utopia. We talk about how to change our economic system to really make it make sense. Tribulations of an Afro-Caribbean Latino man. We also have of all my books, the ones I really love, the one I really, really love is As I See It, Class Warfare, the Only Resort to Right-Wing Doom. And the reason I like that one is that one explains the entire the Western economic system and how it was really designed to screw most of us. And, you don't hear this on TV at all, but you learn about the patent system and all of that and how it harms. And of course, for us, I always tell people, this is the first book. This one is where you learn about the economic system. This is the second book, how you learn how to talk to our brothers and sisters on the right that have been indoctrinated. And then you can tell them about this is how we together are going to create our utopia. All of that for those who subscribe to our channel, our newsletter, get to read all of that online as part of my thank you to all of you. So just please become a paid subscriber. It's inexpensive, less than a coffee to become a paid subscriber. And you are helping us push democracy. You are helping us educate. You are helping. And by the way, when I say you are helping us educate, you form a part of us being able to educate as well, because there are times some of you call in and educate me as well. It's a composite thing, folks. It's a collective thing. Anyway, I got to get out of here. Love you all. My name is Egberto Willies. This is Politics Done Right. And you guys know how I end this baby. I am what? What am I again? Out!
We spend a lot of time deconstructing the news, trying to parse it into a form that everybody can understand. We try to find those little nitpicks where it flies above the fray, etc. If you really like these videos that we do, I want to ask a big favor. Please go ahead. Number one, subscribe to our channel, and number two,